Hey there, everyone. My name is Dandy Joshua. I am a full stack software engineer, and welcome to the very first step into the world of JavaScript. If you've never written a single line of code before, you're in the right place. We'll start from zero and build up together. To begin, what is JavaScript? Well, JavaScript is a programming language that brings websites to life. If you've heard of HTML and CSS, well, HTML builds a structure, CSS makes it looks nice, and JavaScript makes it do things like animations, form validations, games, and even full applications. In fact, JavaScript isn't just for websites anymore. We can use it for mobile apps, desktop apps, and even backend servers. So JavaScript is very powerful nowadays and can be used for so many things. Now to begin, we're going to download what we call an IDE. So an IDE is more or less a text editor with superpowers. It means Integrated Development Environment. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And our choice of IDE is going to be Visual Studio Code. There are many others, there's Atom and so on and so forth. But Visual Studio Code is the most popular, most used, and most, well, let's say, maintained. So we're going to go ahead and download VS Code for our PC. In my case, I'm using a Mac, so I can go ahead and download that for a Mac. But I already have mine downloaded. As such, I am not going to need to download it again. Now, we're going to start off by writing our first ever JavaScript. And probably, just probably, some of you may have seen this somewhere else, maybe. I do not know. So let's just see how far we can go. I'm going to create a new folder and call this JS tutorial. You can call your folder whatever it is you want to call it. But please note you have to understand how file structures work and folder structures work. Alright. So if you are learning JavaScript, the chances are you've already learned HTML and CSS. And as such, we will not be going over HTML and CSS, but we'll just be diving straight into JavaScript. Now, okay. Alright. So I'm going to create my first file here. We're going to call this index.html. And inside the index.html here, you can have different kinds of HTML code. But we're going to be focusing on one, the script tag. Now, the script tag can be inside either the body or the head. And the body is going to contain a script tag that requires certain elements or certain DOM elements from the body, meaning that it has to run when the body has been loaded. Any script you put inside the head here is going to run before the body is loaded. Remember, code runs from top to bottom, left to right. So as such, any code you put before the body is going to have to run before the body. And putting it inside the head means that it's going to have to pre-render or preload these things and keep before the body is being loaded. But that will not make sense in some situations. Why? Because we need things to run in the body, like interacting with buttons and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and write our first line of JavaScript. And in this our case, well, it doesn't really matter where we put it for now. So we're just going to go ahead and put our script tag inside here. So let's write our first line of code. And we're going to just simply have a console log that says hello world. If you've tried out any other programming language, you're going to know this is very, very generic. But let's do this instead. Instead of hello world, let's do hello JavaScript. Alright, I'm going to save this, and you can download an extension called Live Server by Ritwik. Live Server, Ritwik Day. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and download that. Then once it's installed, maybe you have to restart your VS Code. I'm not certain, but go ahead and click Go Live. When you click Go Live, you get your index.html page right here. Now, we wrote some JavaScript here. This console.log hello JavaScript. But how do we find what we've written? Well, to use JavaScript, you can write it inside the HTML file or in a separate JavaScript file using the .js extension. Just like videos have .mp4, audio has mp3, JavaScript uses JS. HTML is this.html. You probably know that by now. So for now, we'll keep it simple and write it directly in. We'll write it directly here in our script tag, and we are going to see it on the browser's console. Now, if you don't know what a browser's console is, well, a console, the log is a browser console is just where you can see some information being logged. Yeah, that's just it. So console.log is just a way of telling JavaScript, show me this message in the console. If we open the browser's developer tools, we can see it right here. So we're going to click on inspect and you see console up here. So this is what we have here. Hello JavaScript. And the only reason why we can see this here is because we are running it in our browser. There's a whole lot to it, but that's just it. So moving forward, we're going to talk about variables. First of all, what is a variable? So all right, now we can run JavaScript. Let's talk about one of the most basic building blocks of any programming language, which is these variables. A variable is like a container or a box where we can store data, things like numbers, text, or even a whole list of items, and then reuse or change the data later. Now let's create our first variable, and we're going to console.log our first variable. Remember, we can reuse, reference, and change this data that is being stored in the variable. So let's say we have a variable, I'm going to do this, let's school. In this case, you can say name, then you write your name. But in this case, I'm going to be using um, school as the variable name. You can give the variable whatever name you want. However, you're going to be able to remember it later. Please do feel free to give it that name. So now, let school equal Softnext Academy. We are going to console.log school. In this case, it's going to reference the school variable. And what it's going to give us back isn't just going to be school. It's going to be the value of school. Remember, this is a storage container. So console.logging this is going to reach into that storage container and give us what we need. So as you see here, we have it Softnext Academy. Cool. So that makes sense, right? Let's change the variable's value. Now note, there are different ways to create variables rather. And these ways are practically just in a declarative keyword here. We have let, we have const, we have var, but we mostly use let and const. People don't really use var that much again. So now, let's see the difference between let and const. So if we do const name, we do this dandy, and then if we console.log something name, we'll have dandy, and that's cool. Now remember, we can reassign or we can change the values of these variables. Let's see how that works for both of these variables. We are declaring one with const and we're declaring one with let. Const also means constant. Alright, so if we say school equals to Softnext Academy 2, right? Then we log school. Softnext Academy 2 is what we're getting back because we have reassigned it. We have changed the value that is in this container. But now, let's do something for name and see, yeah. So let's change this to name. Assignment to constant variable. We cannot reassign variables that are declared with constant keywords. They are declared once and never ever reassigned anywhere else. So that is the difference between using lets and const when declaring variables. And we have seen how to change variable values. Now, another example is going to be with numbers. This is how you declare a string. Alright, this is a data type called a string. So now let's do a different one. Let's say let age equals 32. Alright, let's say let age equals 32. Then down here, we're going to do age equals 33. So I'm going to do age. And okay, we're supposed to remove this because we are reassigning name, but that's not supposed to be done. Okay, so we have 33, and it's not a string because we did not put quotation marks around them. So if we comment this out by doing control/, control forward slash rather, save, we have 32. And that's how it works with um, variables that hold numbers. So that's that about variables that change and variables that do not change. We also have a type of data called booleans. Booleans are practically um, true or false values. In our case, you can say let's um, is logged in. Let's just don't mind what the name is. So let's say is logged in is a value, is a variable name now. Remember, I can give you whatever variable name you like. So we're saying is logged in equals to true. If the user is logged in, for example, we create some logic, some algorithm that can change the user states, and we then eventually are going to just use this variable to like just change the state of the login state of the user. Now if we could log is logged in, we get true. And we do if we change this to is logged in, they make it false. Is logged in is going to be false. So those are the three main data types that you probably be working with for now. Strings, as you've seen here, numbers, and booleans. So those are just the three main kind of data types, but there are many others. There's null, there's undefined, there's so many, but we'll get into that later on. So if we use const, don't forget, if we use const instead of let, the value cannot be changed. It's perfect for things that stay the same. So today you've learned what JavaScript is, how to run it, and how to create variables and store and reuse those data. In the next video, we're going to explore the different types of data in depth so that you can store them inside variables, things like strings, numbers, booleans, and so on and so forth. So till then, stay tuned for the next video.